Thank you for joining us today on Education Matters. Today we have a guest, George Lambert. He's running for Senate. And so we're going to hear all about his candidate race and for Senate and what's going on the campaign trail. Hi, George.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Great, I'm glad you could come.
I am too, although I will tell you, parking out in front of this building is crazy.
I know, we're still waiting for a co-host, but we'll see if he shows up.
Well, I just had to run up to the elevator, but the lady before me was so nice because she's like, I'm going to the 6th floor, which is the top of the building, and so I wanted to make sure you didn't have to wait for it to come back down.
Okay. Well, tell us about your Senate race and how's it going?
I think it's going very, very well. I was up with Governor Havenstein, or candidate for Governor Havenstein in Concord this morning. Had a very nice conversation with him. And he has brought out Tax Pledge 2.0, which says it's not enough to say we're not going to raise taxes. But really, we're going to make sure that we don't end up creating debt or putting in programs that are actually going to cost our communities money in an unexpected way, and it's great.
Right. Well, that's good. So there's cohesiveness there, and we need some cohesiveness in the Senate.
Oh, definitely. I ended up at my first meeting with the Senate, and all of my prior conversations with Jeb Bradley up to the point where I won my primary for 4 years had been somewhat adversarial because quite often we're not on the same page. And then after I won my primary, he said, "Hi, welcome to a run for the Senate. I look forward to working with you." And he's been incredibly friendly. Great. So I'm engaging with the majority leader and talking to other people and saying, we really need to have a discussion about how we fix some of the problems. Targeted aid is a real problem for Manchester because they don't get money on the scoring system that they use disenfranchises Manchester somewhat. We can't target aid to places that need it or communities with differences because we have what's called spreadsheet targeting, right? So you have to have a formula, and the formula has to work for everyone. So you end up with school districts that get an enormous amount of money that aren't as needy. So, one of the local school districts around here, Bedford, if you go to their high school, it's a Taj Mahal. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, I have.
Right? Now, I have a question. Would you rather we were spending money on textbooks and schools all over the place, or going out and saying, you should go out and build an enormous facility, while we have other communities that are saying, we don't have enough money to pay teachers' aides?
It doesn't seem right.
But because of the way the courts decided the Claremont and Claremont 2 decisions, we can't target aid. One of the things we can do is actually bring a constitutional amendment to the people of New Hampshire and say, hey, is it okay if we actually send money to where it needs to go and figure out a way that works without having to play these games? Because the games are, I'll trade you this for that, and some communities who have more political influence do better.
Are you talking about donor towns?
Yes, that's part of the whole system. Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah. There's the donor towns and the receiver towns, and they fight with each other, and so.
Well, and you can't plan. I mean, what's interesting is that the budgeting cycles don't make it so that you can do really good planning. You have another problem, and that is the way that communities in general go out and appropriate money. When they're calculating how much money they need for their budget, they have to go out and target the highest possible salary for someone who could fill a job in case the teacher who's currently got it needs to be replaced. So you end up with this, I have to max out my salary numbers, but then the money goes to the school and the school system, and they figure out how to spend it. And so in Litchfield, where I live, and in other communities across the state, you end up with these games being played about how you appropriate money. Do you know what appropriate money means? No, because it's a legal technical term.
Who decides who's going to get it, or who's going to get it?
No.
No?
No. Appropriation is a government term which is how we decide how much money to raise. And in New Hampshire, you can't spend any more money than you ask the taxpayers for. It's called a gross appropriation. You can't spend $1 more than
Oh,
that.
so it's what comes in, not what goes out?
It's what you ask for taxation and
Like
other revenue.
2% on our property tax
Yeah,
bill?
exactly. So you go and you ask for an appropriation. That's the maximum, absolutely max you can spend. So what they have to do is inflate the number so that they're sure they have enough. Except for then the next year they go back and say, hi, we need this much more. But the larger the number is last year, the larger the 2% increase is. And then they have extra money at the end of the year, but they don't return it to the taxpayer. They don't make it easy. They play these games and,
Well, you understand it.
I
That's
do.
the most important thing.
Yeah.
And you're going to try to fix it.
Yeah, I actually
When
tried
you're
to.
there.
I tried to fix it when I was on the Board of Selectmen in Litchfield. The superintendent, who's no longer there, walks into a budget committee meeting. I was the selectmen's representative for the budget committee, and she said, "For the first time in my educational career, I'm bringing in a negative budget. I'm very excited."
That means less this year than it was last year.
That's what she said.
Uh-huh.
And so what I did is I looked at what she said, and I looked at the numbers, and I said, "But my tax bill is going to go up." And she said, "We brought in a negative budget." And I said, "Yes, but you used a one-time appropriation, that word again, from the state to inflate your budget. And so that money isn't coming in from the state. So while you're really spending $250,000 less than you spent last year, you don't have the money to offset it from the state. So my tax bill is going to go up. And every one of my neighbors in the town is going to have their tax bill go up."
Well, it doesn't make too much sense to me, but
Here's what it is. They use vocabulary that allows them to say things like our total budget went down, even if it's going to cost you more. And they don't have a good sense of what it actually means. And they don't want you to know. They just want you to know that it feels good for us to go out and take care of the children. In Litchfield, you end up with, because of the process is slightly different, you end up with different goals and agendas. And we end up with these town deliberative sessions that happen all over the state. And special interest groups are all interested in none of that. But whatever it is they want, they're going to push. And we see, all this complaint about whether or not we should spend money on X, Y, or Z. But when you have 3 school board members who are supporting the music department, an unnecessary expense to go and buy a music cone. You know what a music cone is?
no.
I don't either, but it had something to do with make the students feel like they sound better and are more like a concert hall. So we don't have money to actually fix some equipment in our budget. You want to go out and put in your budget? Well, we're cutting in other places. You want to go in and put in a music cone. Our priorities are screwed up.
Right. So you're going to help Litchfield.
Litchfield and Manchester, yes.
And for Manchester, the mayor needs your help.
I would love to work with the mayor. I'm very excited about working with Ted Gatsis because he sent out a memo to the State Board of Education the other day. It was a very interesting read. And basically, it doesn't sound like he is dug in the sand on whether it's the Manchester
Academic standards.
or whether or not it's the state standards or Common Core. He's really going, this doesn't fit us. And I will go up and I will work with people to bring a model back that works for Manchester
Right.
and allows us to actually do things that are legal as well as correct.
And innovative, because that's what the Virginia Barry has said that we're not allowed to do, is be innovative
Right.
in this district. We just have to be like everybody else and do like everybody else and do the Common Core. And even though Manchester Academic Standards is 88% Common Core, at least I think we're heading in the right direction to be independent of the state and the federal government's mandates and agendas and whatever they have going, and do what's right for the students of Manchester. And we need the freedom to do that. And right now, through the waiver to No Child Left Behind that Virginia Barry has signed with the governor, that we have right now, is not going to work for Manchester.
Not at all.
And Mayor Gassis has said so, wrote Virginia Barry a letter, who's the education commissioner in New Hampshire, and said this isn't going to be. And I hope he sticks to his principles.
What really scares me is that when you talk to teachers, not in a role as a politician, but just having dinner with somebody who works in the schools, they say they're measured the wrong way. They don't like it, but they don't want to fight they don't want to fight management, because management's doing its job. So they have some of the toughest jobs in the world.
Right. Well, hopefully we can do right for the teachers. We can do right for the city of Manchester. And we need you up there at the Senate to help these bills or whatever we need to go through and be signed by a governor who understands what Manchester needs.
Mm-hmm.
And is going to support Manchester. And right now, that is going to be, hopefully,
Walt
Haverstein.
Yeah.
So Manchester needs Walt.
I'm very excited. His vision for leading a large company in New Hampshire means that he brings expertise in that we can use to run the state.
Hey, we have Eileen on the line. Okay, Eileen, I think you're there with us.
Hi, here I am.
Oh, great.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thank you for calling in. Now, folks, we have Eileen Landy, who's running also for Senate in Manchester, in District.
What is it, Eileen?
It's District 20, and that's Manchester Wards 3, 4, 10, and 11, and the town of Goffstown.
Oh, great.
So I'm on the Lower East Side, and she's on the West Side.
Okay, so we got Manchester covered if you both get elected.
Yeah, and Eileen and I were actually talking about the mayor's letter last night, and we met. Can I say that on television, Eileen, that we were out meeting talking about this stuff last night?
Sure, go ahead. Feel free to share.
Yeah. Oh, another thing, we have Jane Cormier.
No, Booton.
I'm sorry, Booton, who's also, he won his primary. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I talked to him this morning.
Is he going to be on as a team with us?
He actually said to me today, he gave me his card a few minutes ago, and said to me, we need to sit down and talk about these issues, but I got it right here. And so I'm looking forward to actually communicating with him. You'll notice he gave me some private contact information on the back. We probably don't want to show that out.
Booton's going to be on the same page with us.
Well, he says he's going to talk to us. We're going to find out.
Okay, well, maybe I can have him on the show. So, Eileen, you know George Lambert pretty well, I suspect.
Yes, I do.
And could you tell us a little bit about George and his voting record and how you think he would be a good candidate for the Senate?
Oh, well, that's easy. So I've worked with George on multiple issues up at the State House with regards to, fiscal issues, transparency. I mean, George helped get a piece of legislation passed with regard to providing, removing the rulemaking authority. So sometimes part of the government will make a rule, state government's office will make a rule, and it's been having the force and effect of law, which is obviously, that should be only passed through the legislature. So George had submitted a piece of legislation that changed that. It was signed by the governor. So, I mean, that was a huge plus just for transparency and making sure you put the authority back in the right place where it belongs in the legislature. So he's worked on multiple things and has been a champion for this concept of liberty and education and families and all good things that everybody wants to support. I'm a mom. And so I know George is on the same page as a dad, that just wanting to keep the state going in the right direction for our families.
Mm-hmm. And you think you'd be a better candidate than Donna Soucy?
Oh,
to get elected.
By far, hands down.
And I think that Eileen, as a mom, and understanding, she has a son in the school systems right now. She knows what's going on. She hears it on a regular basis.
Well, yes. We were just working on math homework yesterday, and he was one of the things he complained about. Why do they have to make this so complicated? I said, well, unfortunately, you're being taught math this particular way. He's dealing with really with everyday math, and so it's a struggle because they don't put anything easy, straightforward math the way that I learned it, or even his older sister learned it 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So it's definitely what we've got going on is not something that's helping the kids, and that's what we want to look at. We want learning to be something they enjoy doing and something that's actually providing them with not just knowledge. It's great if you know a bunch of facts for Jeopardy, but at the end of the day, you need to know how to think, and you need to know how to analyze, and what we've got here isn't doing that.
Right. Well, we have Governor Hassan now, who is a strong proponent of Common Core, And so that's a problem right now we have it up in Concord. And so we need to change that.
Well, it's funny because the math curriculum for Phillips Exeter, that's where her husband is the headmaster and where she lives. Why don't they take their math curriculum and put it in all of the schools in Manchester? Let's go with that. Because that's
Exactly.
not Common Core,
That's not Common
and
Core.
it's fantastic. I have a copy of it right here on my laptop.
So Mayor Gassis is going to need some help in the Senate come next session, and because Manchester's in a predicament now. It doesn't want to do the aligned assessment to Common Core and called Smarter Balance and different other things. So we need legislation that's going to be hopefully brought up. I know it's in
if
the
I get
works.
there, I will certainly be co-sponsoring it
Right.
if given the opportunity.
And so, so you say, Eileen, that George is the best person to fill in the shoes in this district, his Senate district.
In his Senate district, yes, absolutely, without a doubt in my mind. Again, I've watched him work as a legislator, and he's really got the people in mind and the kids in mind, and what's best for the kids and for the state. And I know he keeps that in the forefront. So, not saying that his report necessarily doesn't do that, but I've seen how effective George can be and how he will work incredibly diligently to put forth as much effort as humanly possible to get a piece of legislation passed.
And to help the
So,
mayor and the city of Manchester. Okay, great, Eileen. I didn't want to take too much of your time at work, but appreciate you calling in. So
Thank you so much for having me on, and have a great rest of your show.
thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Bye.
Good luck in your race.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was nice for her to call in
Yes, it was.
and
know-
let us know these few details.
I've worked with Eileen on a number of issues. When I was first in the State House, I worked with Eileen on a bill having to do with vaccination choice, which a lot of people misunderstand. But it basically went out and said parents get to choose on a one-off basis. And we fought that battle really hard. And I had no idea how contentious it would be. It was a two-line thing. It was very simple. Parents should decide what medical treatments their children have. It seems simple enough to me. We had a really hard time with that. All of the establishment came out, and that's really how I learned to cut my teeth, and she stood right there beside me. So what I'm really looking for is, because we have so much experience working on hard battles together, if we end up serving in the Senate together, we will be able to bring that long history of tenacity, organizing, communication to actually go and advance the interests of Manchester.
That's great.
And I believe we can do it. I mean, I'm not sure if Lou has grandchildren. He probably does. Okay? But I'm not sure if he's actually had the opportunity to sit with them and watch them struggle on math. I'm not sure if he understands that we're no longer teaching history the way that I learned it.
Right.
My former history teacher from school, I'm still in contact with him. We're on Facebook. We're friends. When he comes into town, he visits. He's now living in Florida because he's old. He's in his 80s. But we chat, and he said to me, it's not the same. We're not communicating important ideals and information. We're asking people to memorize facts. And unless they understand the facts in context, it doesn't benefit them.
It's called close reading.
I'm sorry, what do you
It's
call it?
called Common Core close reading, where they don't take the externals factors and incorporate it into the line that they're reading or the text that they're reading. They're taking it in sole context. I mean, without the bigger picture. Like, how can you learn about the Civil War or Abraham Lincoln, Gettysburg Address, without knowing some history about why it happened?
Well, my daughter goes to Liberty Harbor in Manchester, which is an amazing school. They don't use any textbooks at all. They actually print, using what's called print on demand, a custom textbook for their school, which has reference material to original sources and the original sources on the shelves at the library. So they teach their students and then encourage their students to go and look at where it comes from, so that they it's not slanted, it's structured. And the students can go and engage and find out why it's important.
Right.
I was talking to my daughter who is younger, who was telling me that she's having to learn about planes in math. You know, what is a plane and what is a circle, and you know why all this stuff is important. And she's like, I will never use this. And I said to her, we're walking through the mall yesterday, and I said, sure you will. Do you see the round light up there? If you wanted to figure out how much paint you need to paint it, you use the area of a circle to calculate the square footage so that you can find out how much paint you're going to need. And she went, oh, that's what that's for? I go, yeah, and so we started doing these examples, and we stopped at one of the kiosks, and they had some glasses, and I asked the lady for a piece of paper, and I started stacking up glasses that I could put inside of each other to show her how these things interact. And what they're doing is they're telling her things that they think she needs to learn. They're not explaining to her why. And that's the same problem I had when I was in school. You know, I couldn't understand why I would want to know cosine to save my life. And here we are today, and I'm going, oh, I get it. There are new ways to teach educational stuff. Some of the best mathematics education I've seen so far is by a guy from New South Wales in it's Australia or New Zealand. He's never really quite sure, or never quite says. He just says where it is. He assumes everyone knows. But he has done 500 hours worth of explanation on different topics in mathematics, so that if I need to understand something to help my kids, I can go watch a quick program. Yeah, it's amazing. If you'd like, I'll send you a link. You can put it up on your Facebook. You can put it out to people. But if you don't remember, because if you don't use it all the time, you know, for me, it's been 30 years.
Well, we're going to start getting to the end of the show, but I want to take a few minutes to talk about donations. You're going to need some help.
Oh, yes.
People are going to need to help you to get to the Senate.
Yes, they
and
are.
to get through this election on November 4th.
Yes.
And folks, don't forget, November 4th, you go out to vote. And, you know, it's going to be a big day because it's going to be do or die for New Hampshire, really.
Do you know
I mean, we just can't be going down this road any longer.
Do you know the number one donation someone can give to my campaign? Word of mouth. Start informing our neighbors that it matters to go out and find people who are going to do the right thing, to actually return the jewels to the crown of the Queen City. This
I like
is
how you say that again. Return the jewels to the crown
of the Queen City.
Of the Queen City. I love that, George.
You know, and that's young people in education. Young people are moving out. So help me. You know, come follow me on Facebook. Give me a call. Send me an email. But engage. And, you know, I could use money. I need signs. I need sign locations. But all of that comes back to one thing. And that is, we need to turn out the vote.
Turn out the vote.
And
can you give your phone number real quick in case people want to offer some assistance, offer the sign location or the Facebook page or whatever you have going
it's
here?
603-635-4910. My website is Lambert, 4, Senate.com. And if you want to find me on Facebook and follow me, it's facebook.com/podjacker, PODJACKER.
Or they just type your name in also.
Yep, or you get George Lambert for Senate, or
Right.
George Lambert.
I know, it's, we got to get people to get engaged here a little bit and hopefully to bring their support to you on November 4th. We have a couple minutes left. And
the biggest secret, and I shouldn't be saying it on television, but you know what? I need everybody out there who likes this message to understand one thing, and that is that my wife voted for somebody she didn't agree with very much because our neighbor asked her to. Okay? Because our neighbor had an issue and needed help. And this was a subject matter expert on that topic.
neighbor to neighbor, family member to family member.
Correct. And if we can go out and say, education matters, look at George's kids. Go meet them. I mean, they've been on Norman Friends, but, you know, let's go out and talk about what it means to give your kids a quality education. My daughter applied for Phillips Exeter Academy and had her interview on literally on the day before the election for governor when Maggie Hassan won. And so she was in there and doing her interview. She's that good. And she's like, I'm going to go tell him I'm friends with the Speaker of the House, because she is.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, it's probably not the best idea in case Maggie loses or if she wins.
Well, we do need to change these people's seats around
Oh, yeah.
and get Walt in there, get you in there, get Eileen in there, and even Senator Booton reelected.
Yeah.
We got to keep this going so that we can have the folks there to bring the vote for the city of Manchester, and so that the mayor can do what he needs to do, and for the best welfare of the children of this school district.
There are a lot of people who don't think they're Republicans. And that's okay. You don't have to be a Republican. But the Republican majority that went to the House and went to the Senate in 2011, 2012, went out and said, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and they did it. Now, if you stand back and ask whether or not Maggie Hassan has done a good job of taking the educational standards of her husband's school that she lives at and bringing that level of excellence to New Hampshire's educational system, you'll find she hasn't.
No, hasn't
That's a
happened.
double standard.
Has not happened.
And so we should bring people in who are going to go out and stand by their principles and get the job done.
Yes.
That's me. That's Eileen. That's Walt Havenstein. Let's go get it done.
All right, George. Well, I think
With
we
a-
have 1 minute left, so last
And
comments.
a shout out to Bob Burns, who's running for Executive Council.
That's right.
And Dave Wheeler, who's running for Executive Council, both of which are basically the people's representatives to the governor's office. The governor doesn't take my call. The governor doesn't take your call. But your executive counselor is the person who represents your district to the governor. So if you don't know what your executive counselor is, check that out. But Bob Burns is running for executive council in Manchester and will do a great job.
And another thing, too, is that I understand that the Commissioner of Education in this state, Virginia Berry, is appointed by the governor.
And council. And it's the
Right.
and
All
council
of this
part.
goes together.
Oh,
folks.
yeah.
And so we need this whole team to change this complexion of the state.
And stop hiring and appointing people who are going to sue the state. I mean, come on.
Right,
How
at,
could
at the New Hampshire Department of Education.
it blows my mind that we hire that
Board of Education.
we're talking out of both sides of our mouth on that side.
Right,
We
well-
need consistency.
I think we're done, George, but we'll hopefully see you again. And the folks, take care. Don't forget to vote November 4th. Get ready. Watch these candidates. Take care next week.